I'll never forget the first knock on my cabin door. It was a crisp Saturday morning, the kind where the pines smelled sharp and clean, and the lake just beyond the trees reflected the sky like glass. I had driven up Friday night, eager for some peace away from city noise. This cabin wasn't just a weekend getaway, it was my father's legacy. He bought this patch of land 35 years ago, long before anyone thought about forming a homeowners association in this area. It was ours, plain and simple, with a deed signed, sealed, and kept in a fireproof box in my living room. So when the knock came, sharp, impatient, like someone owed money, I wasn't expecting trouble. I opened the door to find a woman in her mid-50s, hair stiffly sprayed into a helmet, pearls on her neck like she was going to Sunday service. She had a clipboard clutched to her chest and a sour expression on her face. Two men stood slightly behind her, arms crossed, like backup dancers in a hostile routine. "Good morning," she said, though her tone had zero warmth. "I'm Vivian Blackwood, president of the Lakeside HOA. I believe you're the owner of this cabin." She said the word cabin like it was dirt. "Yes, my father built it. Can I help you?" I asked, already feeling the edge in her voice. She sniffed. "This structure sits on what is now considered common HOA property. You'll need to remove your belongings and vacate. The board has voted and we plan to convert this space into a community lodge." I blinked at her. "Excuse me? This is private land. My private land." The men shifted, one of them muttering, "That's what they all say." Vivian's smile was thin. "We'll see about that." And with that, she spun on her heel and marched off, the men trailing her like guards. I stood there on the porch, fists clenched. A part of me wanted to laugh at the absurdity. But deep down I knew. People like Vivian didn't bluff. They bullied, they threatened, and yes, they called the police. And something in my gut told me this was just the beginning. What I didn't know then was how far she was willing to go, or how quickly the sheriff's deputies would be knocking on my door next. It was 2 days later when I heard the second knock. This one wasn't like Vivian's prim, angry tapping. No, this was heavy, deliberate, and followed by a loud voice. "Sheriff's Department, open the door." My stomach dropped. I set down the coffee mug in my hand and opened the door to find two deputies standing on my porch. Both wore tan uniforms and mirrored sunglasses that reflected the trees swaying behind me. The older one, with a mustache and a tired look in his eyes, introduced himself. "Morning, sir. I'm Deputy Frank Alvarez. This is Deputy Carter. We got a call from the Lakeside Homeowners Association. They're reporting you're squatting on their community property." For a second, I just stared at him. Squatting? This is my cabin. My family owns this land. I've got the deed in my living room. Deputy Alvarez sighed, like he'd heard this kind of neighbor dispute 1,000 times. "Mind if we take a look at that paperwork, sir?" I grabbed the old fireproof box from the corner, popped it open, and laid the deed on the kitchen table. The parchment was yellowed with age, but clear as day. My father's name, the boundary lines, the legal description of the property. The deputies leaned over, reading silently. Carter adjusted his sunglasses, muttering, "Doesn't look like HOA property to me." Alvarez nodded. "All right, looks legit. Here's the thing, though. Mrs. Blackwood insists this parcel falls under HOA jurisdiction. She claims you've ignored multiple notices." I laughed, but it came out bitter. "Notices? She showed up once with her goons and told me to move out. That's the only notice I've seen." Alvarez's radio crackled. He lifted it, spoke into it quietly, then looked at me. "She's on her way here now. Wants to clarify the situation." Great. Exactly what I needed. Vivian storming onto my porch with the police standing there. And right on cue, a shiny black SUV pulled up the dirt road. Out stepped Vivian, clipboard in hand, followed by the same two men from before. She strutted up like she owned the place. "Officers, thank you for coming. This man is trespassing on HOA land. We've sent him letters, we've voted, and we've decided this cabin must be turned over to the community." I couldn't believe my ears. "You've decided? That's not how land ownership works, Vivian. You can't just vote my cabin away." Alvarez held up a hand. "Mrs. Blackwood, we've reviewed the deed. It shows private ownership dating back decades. Unless you've got something that says otherwise, this isn't trespassing." Vivian's face tightened, but she didn't back down. "That deed is outdated. Our updated plat map includes this land. I'll be happy to send copies to your department." I could see the deputies exchanging a look. Carter muttered under his breath, "Here we go again." Vivian turned her glare on me. "You think you're clever, hiding behind some old paper, but this is a community, and communities follow rules. You're not above the law." I felt my blood pressure rising. "And you're not the law, Vivian. This is my land. You bring all the maps you want. I'll bring the county records." The deputies clearly wanted no part of this back and forth. Alvarez stepped between us. "All right, enough. Here's what we're going to do. Mr. Blackwood, it's not Blackwood. That's her name. I'm—" insert narrator's last name. "She's not my family." He nodded quickly. "Mr. your last name. You keep your deed handy. Mrs. Blackwood, if you believe this property legally belongs to the HOA, you'll need to take it up with the county recorder and civil court, not us. Until then, this man is within his rights to be here." For a moment, silence hung heavy. The only sound was the wind pushing through the trees. Vivian's face flushed red. She looked at me with pure venom, then forced a brittle smile at the deputies. "Very well, but I assure you, this matter is far from over." She spun on her heel, barked at her men, and stomped back to her SUV. The tires spat gravel as she tore off down the road. The deputies lingered. Alvarez gave me a long, weary look. "Word of advice? Document everything. Folks like her, they don't give up easy. If she keeps calling us, we'll have to come back. And honestly, I don't think she cares how much of our time she wastes." I nodded, jaw tight. "Thanks, officers. I'll be ready." As their patrol car rolled away, I stood on my porch, fists clenched. The peace of the lake, the comfort of the pines, it all felt poisoned now. Vivian wasn't going to give up. She was going to drag me through every dirty trick she could think of. And something told me, the next time the police showed up, it wasn't going to be this simple. Because Vivian Blackwood wasn't finished, and the lengths she was about to go would shock me to my core. The quiet didn't last long. By the next weekend, I was back at the cabin, trying to enjoy some fishing on the dock, when I heard it, the low crunch of tires on gravel. I turned my head and saw not one, but two patrol cars rolling up my drive. Behind them, a county pickup with the words Building and Zoning Department stenciled on the side. My heart sank. 4 uniformed deputies stepped out, followed by a man in khakis holding a clipboard. And then, of course, Vivian's black SUV came crawling up behind them like a shark that smelled blood. She got out smiling, smug as ever. "Morning, Mr. last name," Deputy Alvarez called. He looked as tired as before, but his hand rested firmly on his belt. "We've got a complaint here." I crossed my arms. Let me guess, Vivian again. Vivian gasped dramatically, as if I'd insulted her honor. The HOA, Mr. Last Name, not just me. And yes, the board voted to report your illegal structure. This cabin was built without proper permits and is a safety hazard to the community. The inspector in khakis cleared his throat. Sir, I'll need to take a look around. Standard procedure when we receive a complaint. My blood boiled. This cabin was built in 1989. My father filed every permit, every approval with the county. We're grandfathered in. Vivian smirked. Oh, then you won't mind proving it? Deputy Carter stepped closer. Let him do his job, sir. We'll keep this civil. I bit my tongue and stepped aside, watching as the inspector wandered around the cabin, snapping photos, jotting notes. Vivian trailed behind him like a vulture, pointing at things and whispering loud enough for me to hear. See the railing? Unsafe. The deck? Too close to the waterline. And the chimney? Clearly not up to code. Finally, the inspector came back around, flipping through his notes. Well, the structure looks sound. I'll need to pull the original permits from the archives, but at first glance, I see no evidence this was illegally built. Vivian's face twitched. What? You must be mistaken. Look harder. He adjusted his glasses. Ma'am, I do this for a living. Unless the records say otherwise, this cabin's fine. Deputy Alvarez looked at me, then back at her. Mrs. Blackwood, once again, this is a civil issue. If you think you've got a claim, file it in court. But calling us out here over and over, it's starting to look like harassment. I couldn't help it. I laughed. Loud, sharp, and maybe a little unhinged from all the stress. Thank you. Finally, someone says it. Vivian's lips thinned into a razor line. She turned her glare on me, eyes burning. Don't get comfortable. The law will catch up with you. Then she stormed back to her SUV, slamming the door so hard the whole vehicle shook. Gravel flew as she peeled away. The deputies and inspector stayed behind a moment. Alvarez rubbed his temples. He's relentless. You need to be ready, sir. People like her, they don't stop until someone stops them. Document everything. And if you can, get yourself a lawyer. I nodded slowly. I already have all the documents. My father kept everything. If she wants a war, she's going to regret it. As they left, I stood on the porch, the pine trees swaying around me. I should have felt relief, but instead a heavy weight pressed on my chest. Vivian wasn't backing off. She'd tried to get me for trespassing, then illegal building. What was next? I had no idea, but I had a sick feeling the next knock on my door would be worse, much worse, because Vivian Blackwood wasn't just fighting for control. She was willing to weaponize the law itself against me. And the next time, she wouldn't come with inspectors. She'd come with accusations that could ruin my life. I thought I'd seen the worst of Vivian Blackwood. I was wrong. It started on a Wednesday evening. I'd just gotten back from work and was planning to drive up to the cabin the next morning when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Mr. Your Last Name? A clipped voice asked. This is Deputy Harris from the Lakeside Sheriff's Department. We need you to come down to the station. There's been a complaint filed against you. My chest tightened. Complaint? What kind of complaint? Harassment? Trespassing? We'll discuss when you arrive. I gripped the phone, anger bubbling up. I already knew who was behind it. When I walked into the sheriff's office the next morning, sure enough, Vivian was there. She sat in a plastic chair, legs crossed, pearl necklace glinting under the fluorescent lights. Her expression was smug, like a cat waiting for the mousetrap to spring. Deputy Harris waved me back to his desk. He was younger than Alvarez, clean-shaven, by the book. He flipped open a folder and slid a sheet of paper across the desk. Mrs. Blackwood has filed multiple complaints. She claims you've been harassing her, threatening HOA board members, and trespassing on association land. She has sworn statements from 2 witnesses. I glanced at the paper. Sure enough, the 2 men who always flanked Vivian, her so-called witnesses, had signed their names under fabricated nonsense. One even claimed I had brandished a weapon. My blood boiled. This is a lie. I've never harassed her, never threatened anyone, and that land isn't hers to begin with. Vivian leaned in, her voice syrupy sweet. "Deputy, you see how aggressive he is? This is exactly the behavior I've been warning you about. He's unstable, dangerous." I slammed my palm on the desk. "You're out of your mind, Vivian." Harris frowned. "Sir, I need you to calm down." I sat back, breathing hard, trying not to lose it completely. "Deputy, listen. Between you and me, keep your cool. We're watching her. She's pushing too far, and when she slips, we'll be here." I nodded, though my insides were burning. That night, I cut the chain myself just to get to my cabin. Every swing of the bolt cutters felt like defiance, like I was fighting for my father's memory with each snap of steel. I didn't sleep much. Every creak of the cabin, every rustle of the trees outside, I half expected Vivian to come charging up the driveway with more deputies in tow. But instead, the next morning, something else happened. My phone buzzed with a notification. One of my neighbors had posted a video online. A shaky cell phone clip of Vivian arguing with Alvarez, screaming how the cabin belonged to the HOA. The caption read, "Crazy HOA president thinks she owns my neighbor's land." Within hours, the video had thousands of views. By nightfall, it had tens of thousands. And people weren't siding with Vivian. For the first time, I felt the tide starting to turn. But Vivian wasn't done. Not even close. Because once she realized the internet was watching, she doubled down. And the next stunt she pulled, it dragged me, the police, and the entire HOA into a showdown that would explode far beyond our little lakeside community. By the time the neighbor's video hit 100,000 views, I couldn't walk into town without someone giving me that look. The one that said, "Hey, aren't you the guy fighting the crazy HOA?" At first, it embarrassed me, but then I realized something. People were on my side. The comments online were brutal, not toward me, but toward Vivian. "This woman's lost her mind. You can't just vote away someone's property, lady. Stay strong, cabin guy. We've got your back." For once, I wasn't the villain in Vivian's story. But she hated it. 1 week later, I was at the cabin chopping wood when the sound of engines roared up the drive. 2 patrol cars again. My chest tightened. Here we go. Deputy Alvarez stepped out first, looking weary. But behind him came someone new, a county sergeant I hadn't met before. Tall, broad, with mirrored sunglasses that made my stomach twist. He carried himself like he was ready for a fight. Vivian wasn't far behind. She strutted up, clutching papers like they were holy scripture. "Officers, there he is, the trespasser, the squatter, the internet menace slandering our community." I dropped the axe, sweat dripping down my face. What are you even talking about?" Vivian shoved the papers at the sergeant. "Cease and desist. Defamation. He's spreading lies online about me and the HOA." Alvarez gave me a quick glance. "Sir, did you post any videos?" I shook my head. "Not me. Neighbors did. People are filming because she's harassing me." The sergeant's tone was cold. "Well, now it's all over social media, and Mrs. Blackwood is claiming you're inciting harassment against her. She says she fears for her safety." I almost laughed. "She fears for her safety? She's the one chaining off my driveway. She's the one calling you every other day trying to get me arrested." Vivian gasped. "Lames, officers, you need to remove him before this escalates." That was it. I'd had enough. I stormed inside, grabbed the fireproof box, and brought the deed out, slamming it against the hood of Alvarez's cruiser. "Here, read it again. My father's name, my land, recorded 35 years ago, every permit, every approval." Alvarez carefully looked it over. The sergeant, too, though his face didn't soften. Finally, Alvarez muttered, "Still looks legit to me." Vivian's voice rose, shrill and desperate. "This is unacceptable. You have to do something. He's turning the entire internet against us." The sergeant crossed his arms. "Ma'am, if you think you own this land, file your claim in civil court. Until then, there's nothing we can do." She sputtered, pointing at me. "So, he gets to keep breaking the law? He gets to mock me in front of the world?" Alvarez finally snapped. His voice cut sharp through the mountain air. "Mrs. Blackwood, the only one wasting law enforcement time here is you. You've made false reports, dragged us out here repeatedly, and now you're trying to silence someone for showing the truth. If you don't back off, we'll start writing you up." For once, Vivian had no words. Her mouth opened, then shut. But her eyes, those cold, burning eyes, never left me. The deputies left soon after, the sergeant shaking his head, Alvarez giving me a tired pat on the shoulder. "She's digging her own grave. Just keep your cool. The county's already watching her." But I didn't have to wait for the county. That night, another neighbor uploaded fresh footage, Vivian screaming at Alvarez, waving papers in the air like a banshee. It spread faster than wildfire. Local news picked it up, then regional, then national. And suddenly, I wasn't just cabin guy anymore. I was a symbol. Messages poured into my inbox, strangers offering legal help, veterans saying they'd faced similar HOA bullies, people begging for updates. But the bigger the spotlight grew, the more dangerous Vivian became. Because when bullies lose control, they don't just give up, they lash out harder. And the next time she showed up, it wasn't just with a clipboard or false complaints. It was with something far more dangerous. And this time, the police weren't coming to mediate, they were coming to put an end to it. It was just past midnight when I heard it. A noise outside. Not the soft creak of trees in the wind, not the gentle splash of the lake. This was sharp, metallic, the sound of a chain rattling. I grabbed a flashlight and crept to the window. My stomach dropped. Vivian Blackwood was on my driveway with bolt cutters. Her SUV idled behind her, headlights glaring. One of her cronies was holding a box of signs, the same HOA property keep out board she'd hammered up before. But this time, she wasn't just putting up signs. She was cutting through my gate on my land. I swung open the door. "Vivian, what the hell do you think you're doing?" She froze, caught in the beam of my flashlight. For a second, she looked like a thief cornered in the night. But then her chin lifted, and that familiar smirk crept back. "You've brought this on yourself," she hissed. "The community voted. You're finished here." "You're trespassing," I shouted. "I'm calling the sheriff right now." Her crony stepped forward. "You don't scare us. The cops know you're the problem." And that's when I realized Vivian wasn't just making threats. She was betting that all her false reports, all her staged complaints, had built enough doubt that the deputies might actually turn on me this time. But she'd pushed too far. I dialed 911, voice shaking with anger. "This is your name out on Lakeside Road. The HOA president is on my property, cutting through my gate. I need deputies here right now." The dispatcher's voice was calm. "Units are on the way, sir. Stay inside." I didn't stay inside. I planted myself on the porch, flashlight in one hand, phone in the other, filming every second. Vivian shrieked when she realized. "Stop recording me!" "No!" I shot back. "The whole internet's gonna see this!" Within 15 minutes, the red and blue glow of patrol cars cut through the trees. Deputies Alvarez and Carter were first out, then the sergeant. Their expressions hardened the moment they saw Vivian with bolt cutters still dangling in her hands. Alvarez's voice boomed. "Mrs. Blackwood, step away from the gate, now!" She tried to recover, dropping the cutters like they burned her. "Officers, thank goodness you're here. He's the one trespassing. He attacked us." But Alvarez cut her off. His patience finally snapped. "Enough! We've had it with your lies. You've wasted our time, filed false complaints, chained off private property, and now we catch you in the act. This ends tonight." Her cronies mothered, backing away slowly, but Vivian wasn't done. She pointed at me, wild-eyed. "You don't understand. This land belongs to us, the community. If you just listen." The sergeant stepped forward, handcuffs in hand. "Mrs. Blackwood, you're under arrest for trespassing, property damage, and filing false police reports." For the first time, her confidence cracked. Her face went pale as the cold steel clicked around her wrists. "This isn't over," she screeched as they led her to the cruiser. "You'll regret this, all of you." But her words sounded hollow now, desperate. As the patrol cars rolled away, carrying Vivian into the night, Alvarez turned to me. His shoulders sagged, relief and exhaustion etched across his face. "You did good documenting everything. Without that, she might have twisted it again." I nodded, still trembling. I just wanted peace. This cabin was supposed to be home, not a battlefield. Carter gave me a small smile. "Well, you've got it back now. She won't be bothering you again." And he was right. Over the next week, the video I'd taken went viral. The video of Vivian being cuffed at midnight spread across every platform imaginable. News stations replayed it, commentators mocked her arrogance, and people everywhere rallied behind the little guy who refused to be bullied by an HOA. Civil court later confirmed what I already knew. My deed was ironclad. Vivian's plat maps were nothing but smoke and mirrors. She ended up fined, removed from her HOA presidency, and the butt of 1,000 internet jokes. But for me, the victory was quieter. One evening, I sat on the porch of the cabin, watching the sun dip behind the pines. The air was still, the lake calm, the world finally silent again. I thought about my dad, the way he used to sit in this same spot, a cup of coffee in hand, proud of the land he'd worked so hard to claim. I realized then that this wasn't just about property lines or paperwork. It was about standing your ground when someone tries to take what's yours, about refusing to be bullied into silence. Vivian had thought she could scare me off with lies, with police, with the weight of a community board behind her. But at the end of the day, truth is heavier. And truth won. So if you ever find yourself standing up to someone like her, remember this: bullies only win when you back down. And sometimes the best revenge isn't just keeping what's yours. It's watching them lose everything they tried to steal.